This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
You're listening to another episode of Stories from Planet Earth. This week we have on Lilla. Hi, thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
And very briefly, let's just go over who you are and why I'm so excited to have you on this week.
Well, I'm not sure why you're excited to have me on, but I am a native of Louisiana originally. I've been here almost 14 years. And I'm the owner of Conscious Living, which is a bulk refill shop in Old Colorado City.
Yeah, and anybody who's been listening to my podcast has probably heard that name over and over again because I love your shop, and I think it's just so necessary to have a place like that in Colorado Springs. So I'm just really excited to talk to you and
thank you.
Get your perspective on all things sustainable and
Sure.
that sort of thing. So you said you're from Louisiana originally?
I am.
Okay, and how long did you live there, and when did you move to Colorado?
I lived in Louisiana until I was like 28. I've been here 14 years this year. So I lived there a good part of my adult life, and then moved to Colorado Springs and lived here for about 5 years, and then actually moved to the mountains and lived off-grid in the mountains for about 3 years.
Wow. Which part?
West Cliff area.
Okay.
So Custer County, yeah. That was a different life and gave me a new perspective on sustainability and minimalistic living, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that's so different from Louisiana to the mountains. That's probably such a...
Very different, yes. And I was in the country on, 9 acres, and had to deal with mountain weather in the winter, which is not something we dealt with in Louisiana.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it was fun. It was a really good experience, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And have you liked Colorado living here?
I do. Yeah. That's why I'm still here.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Yeah, I've only been to Louisiana once. I went to New Orleans as I was driving through the southern states to go to Florida.
Yep.
And it's an interesting place.
Everyone should visit, for sure. Yeah, and New Orleans is a fun place to go. Yeah,
it's got its own vibe and culture there. It's really interesting.
Indeed.
Okay, so... when did you start Conscious Living, and how did you come up with the idea to start this business?
So, as I was saying, I've lived kind of frugally and minimalistically for a while, and started recycling back when recycling first started. So, it's kind of always been part of my culture to live this way. But I started Conscious Living in July of 2018 as strictly an online business with just the reusable, sustainable products, because I had lived for a short time in an RV and traveled and was thinking I might do that long term. And so I was looking for a way to make some money on the road with a flexible job. So I started it as a e-commerce business. And then soon after, I got the idea about the bulk refill, and found out there were shops popping up around the country offering this kind of service. And I couldn't do that from an RV. I ended up not continuing to travel and decided I would try out the storefront idea. So, because there was no other shop like that here in Colorado Springs with the bulk, like home and body products, I wasn't sure it was going to work. So I started at Pikes Market. downtown, where I could just rent like a booth space and do that for 6 months and see if it worked. And apparently it did, because here we are, and I'm in my own space in Old Colorado City.
Yeah. And in the very beginning of your storefront business, how was it? Like, was it like a trickle-in kind of a thing, or were people super interested right away?
When I was at the market?
When you were at the market, yeah.
Well, I had the advantage when I was at the market of being there with about 12 other small businesses. So it was a large, open air type market with other businesses. And so they would draw their customers. And then there were some ladies there who had started doing pop-up markets. And that was really successful because I started in like November. So I was able to access the holiday traffic. Mm-hmm. And so it was a trickle in effect. Because at the time I didn't have Instagram. I did have a Facebook page, but I wasn't all into Instagram. Yeah. And so I had to learn how to do that and get the word out and, do my own marketing. But there also was the marketing from being visible at the Pikes Peak market. So it within these small business, it takes some time to get the word out and to get your name known. And it helped that I was in a market with other businesses. Yeah,
that is really awesome. I did go to a few of those pop-up markets, and there are just so many cool businesses popping up all around Colorado Springs. Have you noticed a difference in kind of the interests or the way business is going in this city?
Well, I can only look at it from my perspective, the little part of my world as far as sustainability and all that. I do notice that there's a lot more focus on thrifting and pop-ups and vintage type stuff. So, which is great because the word is getting out there. We've got the whole slow fashion and the slow food, and so people are, I think, more focused in some avenues on that, a more mindful way of living. And a lot of these businesses that I was at the Pikes Peak Market with, we just it was a natural, cohesive relationship. Like we had some vintage clothing girls, and there was another lady there who has an eco-friendly, zero waste business, and there were some other food business. It was just a really smooth relationship, working relationship. And from those relationships, I've developed, other relationships with other small businesses and been invited to do some other pop-up markets and things like that. So it's been a really, I can only tell you my perspective from my little piece of the world, but
right, yeah,
it's been nice.
Yeah, because whenever I went to college for 4 to 5 years, I left the city and came back, and it felt like a whole different environment. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot more focused on local business, and I think that's so cool.
Yes.
Because I never saw that whenever I was growing up here.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like kind of, maybe I just wasn't aware of it or didn't care as much of it, but it just is something that I've seen a lot more of in the city.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do try in my shop to support local small businesses as well. With some of the bulk products, that's not always possible, but I do have other products that are made locally. And when I say locally, I mean the state. Mm-hmm. So I have, local soaps and bath products and candles and things like that, facial products, things that are made locally, so I can kind of help support other small businesses.
Yeah.
And mostly women-owned businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's such a cool thing that you're doing for the community. So when did you first start making the switch to an eco-friendly lifestyle?
I can't actually pinpoint. It's been so long, I can't even tell you. Like I said, when recycling first started, I was on board with that. Back in the early 90s, I stopped eating meat because I watched a documentary about factory farming, and, what happens to animals before they end up on our plates. And so that was back in the 90s, I stopped eating meat. And it's just kind of been a progressive thing. As when I lived up in the mountains, I really did the pioneer lifestyle. I mean, we lived off-grid. We had solar power, heated with wood.
Wow.
I made my own bread. I hung my clothes to dry. I canned my own food.
Cool.
I did all those things that our ancestors did because they had to. I did it because I wanted to, and it was a great learning experience. So it would be hard to do full time forever, especially as now I'm single. That would be really difficult, especially in a remote area. But I know I can do it, and it's just like living in the RV. Mm-hmm. I did that alone with 2 cats.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Had some issues along the way, mechanical and such, and it's things like that you don't know how strong you are until you have to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can't actually pinpoint how long. It's been a while.
Yeah, just kind of a progressive.
A while,
continuing.
Yeah, and a progressive thing, yeah. And, the whole bulk, has just really come to the forefront. But it's again, we're kind of coming full circle, and that's the way people used to live, a generation ago,
that's
maybe not even
right?
a generation ago. But, you would go to the market and get your food and all your staples and your body care products in bulk. And some places have co-ops where they do things like that, and that's kind of been a thing as well. But we just don't have that, haven't had that here. I mean, we have places where you can get food, which is great, mm-hmm. but the other items, they're just not offering in bulk anywhere here. So, yeah, I was thrilled to... it was either going to make it or not.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure why no one else had ever done it. And that was a little scary. But, I've had great reception from the public and from my customers, and word of mouth and social media. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a thorn in my side, but it has brought me a lot of customers. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I, for one, am very grateful that a shop like yours exists. Going from living in Fort Collins to coming here, I was really worried that there wouldn't be something like that, because I was trying to convert over to buying stuff in bulk, and there were a ton of places to do that in Fort Collins. And
right.
Knowing Colorado Springs and growing up here, I was like, oh my God, is there going to be a place like that?
Right.
And so when I found your place, I was just so excited.
Yay.
Yeah.
And how did you find me?
I think I Googled it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was, looking for a place.
Yeah.
And stumbled upon yours, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very exciting that it's picking up steam, and that you have a new location, a bigger location. Mm-hmm. That is amazing. Mm-hmm. I actually wanted to touch back on the RV living, because I didn't know that. That's so interesting.
Yes.
Did you travel across the country, or did you have a spot that you just
No, I traveled to the South, actually, because I did it in the winter. Mm-hmm. And I went back to Louisiana and Texas and visited with friends and some family members, and was just gone a couple months. But I had intended, because I had researched forever, and had intended to be out longer, and life happened, and I had some mechanical issues, and I came back, and I had to decide what to do for a living. So I gave that up, but it's still very interesting to me, and hopefully one day, in the future, I'll get out there again, because I met some interesting people just being out there by myself on that short journey. But yeah, it definitely takes some fortitude to do that alone as a woman.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it was fun. I mean, and I was prepared. I mean, you're never totally prepared, but I had researched for probably a year and joined different groups and, things like that. But you're never really prepared until you take that leap. So.
Yeah, right. And
it's just another one of those life experiences that I don't regret. And it just, another step in my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. I think that's definitely something that I would like to do one day, just travel maybe in an RV or a van.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. I think I should probably go on a trip by myself first before I do that.
Right.
But I think that's really cool. People should pursue that kind of thing more often, just having time with themselves. And
well, so many of us have stories of people that we know that said, when I retire, I'm going to do this, this, and this, mostly travel. And then we also have stories of folks who just didn't make it to that point in their journey. They either died before or got very ill and they weren't able to. And so my goal was to do these kind of things while I still could physically. And so that's why I did that, and don't regret it and would love to do it even more. But I still have to make a living right now. Right. But yeah, so that's one of the things one of those things that was kind of a bucket list item. Mm-hmm. And I've got lots more that involve travel, of course.
What's on the top of your bucket list of travel?
I would love to go to Scotland and Ireland. That's kind of where my ancestors are from. And I would love to go there. There's lots of places I would like to go. But, time and money.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I would say Scotland is probably top on the list.
Cool. So would you say that since you've been kind of progressively increasing the sustainable habits in your life, that it's been an easy transition, or have you caught any difficult spots where you're like, oh, this is kind of hard?
Yes, I think it is. I think it is hard in our society today because we're such a disposable convenience, instant gratification type of society. And even for someone like me who is aware, it's hard. I mean, because you go to the grocery store and look at the things that you buy on a regular basis, and it's hard to avoid the plastic. It just really is. I mean, if you buy, cheese or nuts or anything, staples like that you're not getting in bulk, you're going to have plastic. And tofu. I eat tofu. I haven't found a way yet to buy tofu without plastic. Yeah. So it's hard, yes, but I just believe that every little step we make towards the right direction is progress.
Yeah, and I think as more and more people kind of wake up to sustainability and decide to incorporate it into their own life, it's just going to become easier and easier. Like, I've noticed just in the last few years that things seem to be, biodegradable or compostable more. And I think, like I've said in many of the other podcasts I've had, like, dealing with sustainability, it's people voting with their dollar.
Right.
And we're just becoming more aware and kind of demanding better from the businesses that be, the powers that be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, it's part of the name of my business, Conscious Living. I think a lot of it is about being aware before you even make that purchase. When you are voting with your dollars, but you need to be aware of what you're purchasing and not just mindfully grabbing things off the shelf and not paying attention. I mean, think back to when we didn't even read labels. People didn't care about the ingredients in their food. And now how many people do you see in the grocery store who are standing there reading the labels because they found out they want to know, they want to know what's in their products. Same kind of concept with, before you reach to grab something off the shelf, think about the end life of that product. And if there's something else you can use in its place that's more sustainable and recyclable and, reusable. So it's all about the whole mindful, conscious living aspect for me. And when you come in my shop and do the bulk refill, you kind of have to take a step back and be patient, because while you're standing there pouring your laundry detergent, it takes some time. It's all about retraining yourself and just being mindful.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any advice for anyone just starting out?
with sustainability. I would just say take baby steps. I mean, every little step, like I said, can make an impact. So, it depends on the person and what you are or already not doing. Just replace the disposables with reusables. Make sure you have a reusable shopping bag in your car so you don't, give in to the plastic bags at the store. I think so many people do this already, but take your reusable coffee cup or water bottle, or, just be aware of the little things, little swaps that you can make. And some of them are really very easy. Swap the plastic wrap for beeswax wraps or the silicone wraps that you can use instead. I'm trying to think of my store and all the different reusable things. We've all heard the stories about the straws. Personally, I never was a big straw user to begin with, but if you are a straw user, there's so many alternatives. So those kind of things, just little things like that you can tuck into your backpack or your car or your purse and make those swaps, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that there's so much more information out there about how to incorporate this into your life, because whenever I was first starting out becoming more sustainable and incorporating green habits into my life, I kind of didn't know where to start, and it was really overwhelming at first. This was like before it was cool on social media,
Right.
But once it did start picking up on social media, it did become a lot easier. And it just seems like people are so much more aware, and that's just going to be really cool for people who want to start looking into this, because there are resources everywhere, it seems.
So what were the first things you did?
The very first thing that I did was switch to the reusable shopping bags and the water bottles, reusable water bottles. And so then from there, I sort of transitioned into more like kitchen stuff and bathroom stuff, and it was just kind of, like you said, a slow progression. And I'm still, I'm not perfect by any means, but...
None of us are.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect science either. I mean, doing the bulk is not perfect. I have some suppliers that will take back the containers and reuse them and refill them, and I have others that don't. And that's disappointing to some of my customers, because they think that they're going to a bulk shop and everything is going to be in glass and everything is going to be sent back to the manufacturer, and they're going to reuse and recycle and reduce. And in a perfect world, yes, but it's not the way it always happens. But, we're doing the best we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's just something we need to keep in mind, is like just to do the best you can.
Right. You do the best you can when you know better, I like to believe that about people. When you know better, you do better.
So what do you see on the horizon for sustainability and your shop?
Well, I hope I continue to grow. I love where I am. I love Old Colorado City, and I love my space, but I can only put so much in that one space, so hopefully I can grow into a bigger space or another location. Truly, we need these kind of shops in every city, everywhere. We could use more than one in Colorado Springs. I think that it needs to be more accessible for people. And so I'm hoping that as word gets around, these kind of shops grow. And I'm hoping that manufacturers offer more bulk. Bigger manufacturers offer more bulk options for us as business owners. Because I truly think that it needs to kind of trickle from the top down, from the manufacturers. And we need to, as you said earlier, we need to vote with our dollars and let them know that this is the kind of shopping we want to do, is bulk shopping versus, another 16-ounce bottle of shampoo every time you run out of shampoo. So, and, we have a long way to go with sustainability in this town and in this state, unfortunately. People come to Colorado, which I did 14 years ago, and I thought, oh, such a progressive, green, forward-thinking state. And yes, in some places, but not, not in most. I mean, I think our recycling rate for the state is like 12%.
Oh, wow.
And the national average is 35%. So we've got a long way to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are strides being made, but we have a long way to go. And recycling is not the answer to everything. I think it's that mindful purchasing. Before you even get to the recycling part, you need to think about reusing, repairing. It's the circular economy that we need to be going towards instead of the linear. Right now, where we buy it, we use it, we trash it. And we need to think about refurbishing, reusing, thrifting, swapping, trading, all of that in between. And recycling needs to be really at the very bottom.
Mm-hmm. So what is one of your favorite sustainable practices or products?
I really like, the Swedish dishcloths. Those are really cool. They are a swap for paper towels or sponges. And they're made out of cellulose and cotton. So they're totally compostable or biodegradable. And they come in all kinds of fun patterns. I have lots of little fun patterns. But yeah, you just use them for everything that you would use a paper towel or a sponge for. And they're dishwasher and washing machine safe. And really environmentally friendly. That's probably one of my favorites. As well as the wraps, the different types of wraps, because plastic wrap was just like the bane of my existence. There's only so many storage containers that you can have, and then you need to wrap something every once in a while.
Right. Yeah.
And so the beeswax and the vegan wax wraps, and I also have some silicone wraps now too that are food grade safe. So those kind of kitchen swaps, I think, are probably my favorites. And now that I'm thinking about it, the safety razor.
I love my safety razor.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got one from me?
I didn't get one from you. I got one before I knew about your shop.
That's okay.
But I do have a safety razor.
That's probably one of my favorites too. Mm-hmm. And that's a hard swap for some people because it's very scary.
Yeah,
to
you
think about. Yeah, it's very scary. But once you get used to it, it's really, again, it's one of those. You have to slow down and be mindful when you're shaving. You don't get in a huge hurry like you do with a plastic razor. But you're more mindful about what you're doing. And they last forever. Mm-hmm. The ones I sell are bamboo and stainless steel, so eventually that can be recycled. And I love it. I do love that, because disposable razors are just... There's just really no good way to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't harm the environment. So, the safety razors are nice. I like those.
Yeah, they are really nice. And I will say they're less scary than you think they're going to be. Like, right. They are, you do have to be slower, but the razor is small and they're bendy,
yep.
They're not big, scary razors that you have to, worry about. I don't know.
Again,
I love mine.
Yeah, it's just retraining or, training or retraining yourself to do things differently. It's just forming a new habit.
Yeah, absolutely. So my theme for this month is change your world. Being that when we change our own world, we can change the world around us just by existing. That's what I think.
It's kind of the ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I 100% believe in that. Lead by example. Mm-hmm. So how do you think that you've changed your world in a way that has changed the world around you?
Well, it's interesting. I'm not sure how directly I've changed my world. Well, I've changed my world directly. I'm not so sure how I've changed others. But my shop has become kind of a hub for like-minded people. And I love that because we've actually gotten together a group of people who are from various avenues in the city that, for whatever reason, they're either with a certain environmental group or a recycling group or some people from the zoo and their conservation program. And we've all gotten together to have like roundtable discussions about what's going on in our area and how we can collaborate and not reinvent the wheel. Like if this group is doing something already, then there's no need for a grassroots movement to start up again. So why don't we collaborate? And so I think that's kind of been the ripple effect from just opening this shop and having people come in, and the fact that I'm not too shy to talk to people and, spread the word and refer other businesses like composting. I talk to people about composting when they come in my shop. We have 2 great groups in town that do composting. We have Soil Cycle through the Springs Food Rescue Mission, and we have Brown's Greens, which is a private company. And so I talk to people about composting, and that kind of spreads, the word about those kind of things. So, I mean, I just think the more of us that have like-minded concerns that get together and springboard off of each other, the more the ripple effect. And, that's kind of how it's worked out at my shop. Yeah.
Well, I think that you're modest because just the fact that you have a shop in this city that didn't have a shop before, you're changing the world in a pretty significant way,
well,
I think.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate you being on and chatting with me.
You're welcome.
Where can the listeners find you and your work?
Physically, you can find my shop at 2616 West Colorado Avenue, number 9. I'm in the heart of Old Colorado City. And then I'm on social media, Conscious Living Shop. And then I do have a website, consciouslivingshop.com.
Awesome. Please go visit her. Go support her business. Thank you again for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Stories from Planet Earth. If you have some time, leave us a review and be sure to subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram at SFPE Podcasts. I'll talk to you next week.